"You are so annoying, old hag. Get away from me, do not touch me. You country bumpkin." My granddaughter, whom I had raised with my own hands, had just returned from Germany and was pointing at my nose, cursing at me. She thought I could not understand German, but she did not know that 40 years ago, it was with my German skills that I had built my own business empire beneath the Berlin Wall. I said nothing, just quietly dialed a number. "Charles, throw them all out of my house. My name is Luna Winters. 40 years ago, my husband died, and on his deathbed he took my hand, making me promise to put aside everything, live a simple life, and raise our son properly. But I never thought that this promise would lead to such pain. I keep thinking about how this could happen to anyone, anywhere. Tell me in the comments where you are watching from. I love hearing from our global community." Let me tell you about Emma's shocking discovery. On my 70th birthday, there was no birthday cake, no guests, not even a simple bowl of noodles. My son Robert Williams and daughter-in-law Sarah were busy taking care of their precious daughter who had just returned from Germany, my granddaughter Angela Williams. "Angela, honey, did you eat well in Germany? You look so thin," Sarah said lovingly, touching her daughter's hair with pure love in her eyes. Angela Williams, my only granddaughter, wore perfect makeup and what looked like a simple coat that I knew cost at least $50,000. She quickly moved away from Sarah's hand. "Mom, don't touch my hair. I just got it done. Everything in Germany is great, except the food is awful. Nothing beats what our cook makes." The home she talked about was a 3,000 square foot luxury apartment downtown worth $30 million. "And I lived in the maid's room," Robert laughed nearby. "It is good you are back. It is good you are back. Today's your grandmother's birthday. Come on, say hello to your grandmother." Though he said this, he didn't move, his eyes never leaving his phone screen. Only then did Angela seem to notice me, looking up with casual indifference. "Oh, happy birthday, Grandma." Her eyes stopped for a second on my old cotton shirt, showing clear disgust. I smiled and didn't mind, pulling out a package from behind me. "Angela, this is a sweater Grandma made for you. It gets cold there. This will keep you warm." I had stayed up 3 nights to finish this sweater, nearly hurting my eye. Before Angela could respond, her phone rang. She immediately answered, chattering away in rapid German with a bright smile I had never seen her show to any of us. I understood every word. She was bragging to her friend about just returning to the country, complaining about how tacky the house decoration was, and calling her country grandmother utterly provincial. My hands holding the sweater froze in midair. Angela talked on the phone while trying to walk around me impatiently. I did not move, just wanting to personally hand her the sweater. Blocked by me, she frowned deeply and complained quickly in German to her friend. "Ein dummer Bauer, wirklich nervig." A stupid peasant, really annoying. My heart felt like it had been stabbed by an ice-cold knife, bloody and painful. I could barely breathe. I had raised her for 20 years. When she was little, I changed her diapers and fed her, while Robert and Sarah were busy making money. I held her, taught her to speak, taught her to walk. When she wanted to learn piano, I used all my savings to buy her the best one. When she wanted to study in Germany, it was I who gave her my retirement fund, that savings account with $500,000 that represented my entire life's work. I thought if I gave everything, I could get a little family affection in return. In the end, in her eyes, I was just a stupid peasant. Her friend on the phone seemed to laugh, and Angela laughed along. She turned sideways and disgustedly pushed away the sweater in my hands. The sweater fell to the floor, getting dusty, just like my heart. She did not even look down, walking straight back to the sofa to continue chatting with her friend about her colorful life in Germany and those luxury brands I did not understand. The living room filled with her cheerful laughter. Robert and Sarah laughed along, as if this were such a warm, beautiful family portrait. No one looked at me. No one remembered it was my 70th birthday. No one saw the sweater lying on the floor. I slowly bent down, picked up the sweater. The cashmere still felt soft, but my heart had turned cold as ice. I quietly walked back to my maid's room and closed the door. Through the door, I could still hear Angela's complaints. "Dad, Mom, why do you still let this old lady live in the house? She smells. When my friends come over and see her, how embarrassing." Sarah immediately agreed. Yes, Angela is right. How about we send her to a nursing home?" Robert hesitated. "That would not look good, bad for our reputation." "What is wrong with that? Just say she wanted to go herself, for peace and quiet." Sarah's voice became shrill. "Do you still want that promotion? Next week your company's new big boss is coming for a home visit. If he sees such a provincial old lady living here, what? I have nowhere to put all my bags and clothes." Outside the door, the family of 3 had already begun excitedly planning their beautiful future without me. I sat on the cold edge of the bed, trembling all over, not from cold, but from a rage that had been building for years. 40 years ago, when my husband died, he took my hand on his deathbed and made me promise to give up everything, live an ordinary life, and raise our son well. He said money was the root of evil, and a simple life was a blessing. I promised him with all my heart. He dissolved the Moonlight Corporation I had built in Germany, leaving only one loyal subordinate, Charles, to manage it. I established a rule that unless I died or contacted them myself, all corporate business had nothing to do with me. I returned to America, changed my identity, and raised Robert alone by doing odd jobs and manual labor. I thought 40 years of patience and sacrifice could earn me a peaceful old age surrounded by loving family. I was wrong, terribly, painfully wrong. Some people cannot be taught gratitude. When you give them your heart and soul, they take it for granted. The more you yield, the more they push. The more you sacrifice, the more they demand. I looked at my husband's black and white photograph on the bedside table. In the photo, he smiled warmly, full of the hope and love we once shared. "David, I am sorry. I might have to break my promise to you." I wiped my tears and pulled out an old phone from a wooden box under the bed. Blowing off the dust that had accumulated over the years, I tremblingly pressed the power button. The screen lit up, showing only one contact name, Charles. I dialed the number I had not called in 40 years. The call was answered almost immediately. "Chairman." An aged but excited voice came through, trembling with disbelief and joy. My throat was dry, my voice hoarse from emotion. "Charles, it is me." "Chairman, it is really you. You have finally contacted me." Charles's voice was tearful with decades of suppressed emotion. "I have waited for you for 40 years, 40 long years." I took a deep breath, suppressing my churning emotions, my voice becoming cold as winter ice. "Look up Robert Williams, Sarah Williams, and Angela Williams. I want all their information, every detail of their lives." "Yes, Chairman." Also, I paused, looking at the $30 million river view outside the window. "Whose name is this house under?" "Chairman, it is under your name. All your domestic real estate remains under your personal ownership." I laughed until tears flowed down my cheeks. "Very good. Charles, throw them all out of my house." The next morning, while I was still in the maid's room, I heard arguing in the living room. It was Sarah's shrill voice cutting through the morning air. "What? 5 million, Angela, are you out of your mind? Where would we get that much money?" Angela replied with the entitled tone of someone who had never been denied anything. "I do not care. My classmates in Germany, when they return home to start businesses, their families give them 10 million. What is wrong with me asking for 5 million? I am doing this for our family's reputation. Besides, my project is guaranteed to make money. I will pay you back 10 million. What guarantee do you have? Your luxury goods theories will not work in America." Robert could not help but speak up, exhaustion weighing heavy in his voice. You do not understand anything. Your thinking cannot keep up with the trends. I cannot reason with you backward people." Angela's voice rose with a crying tone. The manipulation of a spoiled child who had never heard the word no. "I do not care anyway. If you do not give me the money, I will go back to Germany and never come back." "You," Robert was speechless with anger and frustration. Sarah immediately started mediating, then turned the conversation toward me with calculated cunning. "Oh, honey, do not be angry. Angela is doing this for our family's good. About the money, we can think of something." She paused, deliberately raising her voice so I would be sure to hear. "Does not Mom still have that old house, downtown in that location? It must be worth 700,000 or 800,000 now, right? If we sell it, we will have the money." I pushed open the door and walked out. The eyes of all three immediately focused on me with laser-like intensity. Their gazes were no longer yesterday's disdain and indifference, but like three hungry wolves seeing prey, full of greed and calculated manipulation. "Mom." Sarah was the first to approach, her face plastered with a fake smile, so obvious it was almost insulting, intimately linking my arm with false affection. "Look, Angela wants to start her own business. As parents and grandparents, we must support her. Your old house is just sitting empty anyway, so why not? Why not sell it and give her startup capital?" I finished her sentence with calm precision. Sarah's eyes lit up like a cash register, nodding repeatedly. "Yes, yes, Mom, you are so understanding. When Angela makes big money later, she will definitely treat you well." Though her face still showed reluctance at having to interact with me, she squeezed out a smile. "Grandma, when my company goes public, I will buy you a big castle in Europe." Robert also rubbed his hands together, looking at me with the desperate expectation of a gambling addict. Looking at their three faces, I felt nothing but disgust and a profound sadness for what my family had become. That old house was the only memento my husband left me. We had our wedding celebration in that small courtyard. For 40 years, no matter how difficult things got, I never thought of selling it. Now, for their so-called entrepreneurship, for their so-called reputation, they wanted to sell the last piece of my heart I had left. I slowly freed myself from Sarah's manipulative grip and sat on the sofa with deliberate calm. "You want me to sell the house? Fine." The three immediately beamed with joy and greed. But I changed my tone, looking directly at Angela with steel in my voice. "You must first show me your business plan. I need to know exactly how you will spend this 5 million and how you will earn it back." The air in the living room instantly froze. Angela's smile stiffened like a mask that had cracked. She looked at me like I had told the world's biggest joke. "What? A business plan, Grandma? Are you kidding? You are an old lady who cannot even use a smartphone. Do you think you can understand a business plan?" Her tone was full of contempt and mocking laughter. Sarah quickly intervened with false sweetness. "Yes, Mom, these are all trendy things Angela knows about. You would not understand even if we explained. Just trust us with the money." The condescension in her voice was thick enough to cut with a knife. "If I cannot understand, I will not sell." My tone was calm but carried the weight of absolute authority. "You?" Angela's face instantly turned red with indignation. She had not expected me to dare refuse her demands. "Grandma, I advise you not to be so ungrateful. My parents are respecting you by discussing this with you. This house will be ours sooner or later. Do not force us to use other methods." She finally tore off her disguise, revealing her sharp, bitter, true face underneath all the designer clothes and fake smiles. "Other methods?" I asked with a knowing smile. "Like sending me to a nursing home and then forging documents to sell the house?" Angela's face went white as fresh snow. Robert and Sarah were also stunned into silence. They had not expected that I had heard their whispered conversation last night with perfect clarity. "Mom, you do not misunderstand. We were just talking." Robert stammered pathetically. "I am not misunderstanding anything. I interrupted him, looking intently at each of them, saying word by word with crystal clarity. Angela, I am asking you one more time. Do you have a business plan or not? Angela was intimidated by my sudden presence and authority, instinctively stepping back. But her inherent arrogance quickly took over again, like a familiar costume. Fine, you want to see it? I will show you. I want to see what this country bumpkin can figure out. She stormed back to her room with theatrical fury, grabbed a laptop, and slammed it down on the coffee table in front of me. Look, this is my business plan. It is full of professional terms and German data models. If you understand a single word, I will write my name backwards. I ignored her shouting and just put on my reading glasses with deliberate slowness, moving the mouse with practiced precision. The business plan was beautifully designed with expensive graphics, flowery language full of fashionable business terminology. But inside, beneath all the polish and pretense, it was completely hollow. Market research was full of gaping holes, target customer positioning was vague to the point of meaninglessness, and financial budgets were completely divorced from reality. Most laughably, in the core competitiveness section, she had boldly written in large fonts, "Advanced concepts and aristocratic aesthetics from Germany." I suppressed my laughter and pointed to a data chart on the screen, asking in the calmest tone I could manage, "Why did your user profiling only select samples from Berlin and Munich? Do you not know that consumption habits and aesthetic preferences vary dramatically across German states, especially Bavaria and North Rhine-Westphalia? Their luxury consumption philosophies are almost polar opposites." The mockery on Angela's face instantly froze like water turning to ice. I pointed to another section with surgical precision. "And your supply chain planning? You intend to import everything from Europe? Do you know the current logistics costs and tariffs between America and Europe? Your pricing model completely ignores exchange rate fluctuation risks. If the euro appreciates more than 5 percentage points, your capital chain will immediately collapse." My voice was not loud, but every word was like a heavy hammer, pounding relentlessly on Angela's heart and pride. She stared at me with her mouth hanging open, unable to form a single word. Robert and Sarah were also completely dumbfounded. How could their mother, who in their minds could only busy herself in the kitchen and could not even understand newspapers, possibly know these complex business concepts? I did not stop there, continuing in perfect fluent German. "Und hier den sogenanntes aristokratisches Fethete Konzept ist nichts weiter als eine plumpe Kopie der Marketingstrategie von Leica aus den 90er Jahren. Hast du wirklich geglaubt? Niemand w Fadarde des bemerken. And here, your so-called aristocratic aesthetic concept is nothing but a crude copy of Leica's marketing strategy from the 1990s. Did you really think no one would notice?" Fluent, perfect standard German flowed from my mouth with the confidence and authority that came from years of academic training and business experience. Angela's face instantly drained of all color. She stared at me like she had seen a ghost materialize before her eyes, trembling from head to toe. You, how can you speak German? This is impossible." I closed the laptop with a satisfying click, took off my reading glasses with deliberate care, looked at her pale, shocked face, and smiled with genuine amusement. "Because 40 years ago that stupid peasant you mentioned was pursuing a doctorate in economics at the Free University of Berlin." The entire living room fell into the kind of deathly silence you might find in a cemetery at midnight. Robert and Sarah's jaws dropped so far I thought they might dislocate, their eyes nearly popping out of their heads. They looked at me like I was a complete stranger who had somehow taken the place of the woman they thought they knew. Angela was even more stunned, her body swaying as if she might faint at any moment. "Impossible. This is absolutely impossible," she murmured, her eyes vacant and unfocused. "You are lying. You are just a country old lady. How could you possibly? How could you possibly?" She could not accept this reality that shattered every assumption she had made about me, the country bumpkin she had despised and scorned. whom she thought only deserved to live in the maid's room, actually possessed the German background she was so proud of. And not just any background, but a doctoral degree she could never hope to achieve. This revelation was more humiliating than if someone had slapped her directly across the face in front of everyone she knew. "Mom, is this really true?" Robert finally found his voice, asking me with trembling words. I did not answer him directly, just looked coldly at Angela with the gaze of someone who had seen through every pretense. "Now, do you still think your business plan is flawless?" Angela's lips trembled like autumn leaves, unable to form any words. That business plan she had boasted about to the skies was now revealed as nothing more than an expensive joke. Sarah reacted fastest, her survival instincts kicking in immediately. Her eyes rolled as she calculated her next move, and she immediately put on a fawning smile so exaggerated it was almost theatrical. "Oh my goodness, Mom. You are so amazing. Why did you not tell us earlier? This is really like family not recognizing family." While speaking, she forcefully pinched the still dazed Robert to snap him back to reality. Robert jerked back to awareness and quickly chimed in with desperate enthusiasm. Yes, Mom. You really are a hidden expert." Angela was just misguided. Please do not hold it against her. Saying this, he glared fiercely at Angela with the look of someone whose meal ticket was threatened. "Hurry up and apologize to your grandmother?" Angela startled at his sharp command, and finally reacted to the gravity of the situation. She looked at me with complex emotions swirling in her eyes. Shock, shame, but more than anything, unwillingness and barely contained resentment. She gritted her teeth and squeezed out 3 words like they were being extracted with pliers. "I am sorry." Her voice was as quiet as a mosquito's whisper. "I did not hear you clearly." I picked up my teacup and gently blew on the steam with complete composure. "You!" Angela's face instantly flushed red again with indignation and humiliation. Sarah quickly held her down with restraining hands, smiling at me with desperation. "Mom, look, the child already knows she was wrong. She is young and does not understand these things. Please forgive her this once, about the house." She was still thinking about the money from selling the house, even after everything that had been revealed. I put down the teacup with deliberate care. The cup clinked against the table with a crisp, final sound. "The house is not for sale." 3 words delivered with absolute finality. Sarah's smile froze on her face like a photograph. "Why, Mom, since you understand so much about business, you should support Angela's entrepreneurship even more. With you helping her check things over, this project will definitely succeed." She was getting anxious, her voice rising with panic. "I do not help people who cannot even spell the word respect." I looked at Angela with ice in my voice. Moreover, her so-called entrepreneurship is just an elaborate scam designed to satisfy her vanity and delusions of grandeur. "You are talking nonsense!" Angela screamed with the fury of someone whose comfortable world had just collapsed. "You just cannot stand to see me succeed. You evil old witch." The words hung in the air like poison slap. A loud, sharp sound echoed through the room. The one who struck was Robert. He used all his strength in that slap, years of frustration finally exploding. Angela's face immediately swelled up, blood seeping from the corner of her mouth. Everyone was stunned into absolute silence. Angela covered her face, looking at her father in complete disbelief. Since childhood, Robert had never even said a harsh word to her, much less raised his hand. You hit me," she whispered in shock. "I hit you, you ungrateful wretch." Robert trembled with rage, pointing at her nose with shaking fingers. "Quickly, kneel down before your grandmother, beg her forgiveness immediately." He was not really feeling sorry for me. He was afraid. Desperately afraid. A mother who could speak fluent German and understood complex economics. A mother he completely did not know, made him feel unprecedented fear and deep unease. He realized he might have missed something crucial, or rather, He had always completely underestimated this mother. He considered nothing more than a burden to be managed. Angela stood stubbornly, despite the pain, glaring at me with hatred that seemed ready to overflow and consume everything around us. Sarah also panicked, pulling Robert while coaxing Angela with frantic energy. "Honey, what are you doing? Let us talk nicely, Angela. Quick, listen to your father and apologize to your grandmother. This will all pass if we just handle it properly." The scene descended into complete chaos. I watched this pathetic farce with cold detachment, feeling no emotion whatsoever. These people had been my family, my whole world, and now they were nothing but strangers performing a tragedy of their own making. Just then, my old phone suddenly rang with everyone's movements stopped instantly, all looking at me with various degrees of fear and confusion. I took out my phone and glanced at the caller identification. It was Charles. I pressed answer and deliberately put it on speaker so everyone could hear. "Chairman, everything you requested has been handled." Charles's respectful voice echoed clearly in the living room, with the authority of someone accustomed to wielding real power. Chairman, Robert and Sarah exchanged puzzled, worried looks, their faces growing pale. I calmly said, in acknowledgement. "Also," Charles continued his report in a business-like tone, "regarding Mr. Robert Williams's company, we found some very interesting information. His current employer, Hongfa Trading's largest overseas client, DeLong Group, is actually controlled by our Moonlight subsidiary corporation." Robert's mind went blank with a sound like rushing water. DeLong Group was the biggest client he was responsible for managing. Whether he could get promoted to deputy general manager this month depended entirely on maintaining this crucial contract. Moonlight, what company was that? He had never heard of it in his life. "What do you mean exactly?" I asked with clinical interest. "I mean, with just one word from you, Hongfa Trading could declare bankruptcy tomorrow morning." Charles's tone was calm but carried the unquestionable force of someone who had the power to destroy lives with a phone call. Robert's legs went weak, nearly collapsing to the floor. Charles's voice paused for dramatic effect. "We just intercepted an email from Miss Angela Williams to her boyfriend Michael Chen. In the email, she said she had convinced you to sell the old house and would soon get $5 million. She also said that once she got the money, she would elope with him and never care about her burdensome and useless parents again." Boom! Like a thunderbolt exploding directly over Robert and Sarah's heads, the words hit them with devastating force. They whipped around to look at Angela with expressions of absolute betrayal and horror. Angela's face had turned white as fresh paper. "It is not like that, Dad, Mom. Let me explain. It was Michael. He taught me to say those things," she explained incoherently, her words tumbling over each other in desperation. But it was all too late. The damage was complete and irreversible. I hung up the phone with satisfaction, stood up with dignity, and looked down at the three people collapsed on the floor like broken dolls. "Now, do you still want my house?" Sarah was the first to react with the desperation of someone whose world was crumbling. She lunged at Angela like a woman possessed, slapping her left and right with all the fury of a mother betrayed. "You heartless little beast. We worked so hard to raise you, and this is how you repay us? Elope? You think we are burdens? I will beat you to death. I will beat you to death today." She hit and cried simultaneously, her voice shrill and desperate, filled with the pain of someone who had just realized their life's work was meaningless. Robert also rushed over, but he did not hit Angela. Instead, he grabbed her phone with shaking hands, found the contact for Michael Chen, and called him immediately. As soon as the call connected, he started cursing with years of suppressed rage. "Michael Chen, you manipulative bastard! How dare you deceive my daughter? I am telling you right now. This is not over. You wait for what is coming to you." Angela was beaten until she was dizzy, blood flowing from her mouth, her hair disheveled, looking utterly wretched and pathetic. She hugged her head defensively, letting out sharp cries of pain and denial. "Stop hitting me. Stop. It is not my fault. It is all his fault. He made me do it. The once warm and harmonious family of three had now turned against each other in the most ugly display of human nature. I watched all this with cold detachment, like viewing a comedy that had absolutely nothing to do with me. This was the family I had given everything, ridiculous and tragic beyond measure. The farce lasted nearly 10 minutes of chaos and recriminations, until Sarah was too tired to continue hitting, Robert was too tired of cursing, and the living room gradually quieted down to an exhausted silence. Angela cowered in the corner of the sofa, shivering like a frightened animal that had been beaten into submission. Robert and Sarah sat collapsed on the floor with vacant stares, breathing heavily from their exertions. They knew with absolute certainty that everything was over. Work. Future. Their daughter's bright future. All their dreams and plans had shattered like soap bubbles in the wind. And the one who had crushed it all was the stupid peasant they had always looked down upon with such casual cruelty. Robert raised his head slowly, his bloodshot eyes looking at me with the desperation of a drowning man, his lips moving for a long time before making any hoarse sound. "Mom, I was wrong." He fell to his knees with a heavy thud that echoed through the room. "I really was wrong. I should not have been unfilial to you. Should not have indulged Sarah and Angela in their treatment of you. Please, please give me another chance. The DeLong contract. We cannot lose it. Our family cannot survive without this job." He spoke while kowtowing forcefully, his forehead hitting the floor with loud thud, thud sounds that spoke of complete desperation. Sarah also reacted with the survival instinct of someone facing complete ruin, crawling and rolling to kneel at my feet, hugging my legs and crying loudly with theatrical despair. "Mom, I was wrong. I am not human. I should not have said we would send you to a nursing home. I have a foul mouth. Hit me, scold me. As long as you can calm down, please show mercy and spare Robert. Our whole family depends on him for everything." Angela finally realized the true seriousness of the situation and what it meant for her future. She slid down from the sofa slowly, knelt on the ground, and crawled step by step toward me with the humility of someone who had finally understood their place in the world. "Grandma, I was wrong. I should not have cursed at you. I should not have been so vain and cruel. I should not have said those awful, terrible things." She cried until she could not breathe properly, her expensive makeup smeared across her face, streaked with red and black. Where was any trace of the refinement she was so proud of? "Please, forgive me," she whispered through her tears. 3 people knelt before me in unison, crying bitterly, begging desperately with the fervor of people who had finally seen the abyss they were about to fall into. If this had been yesterday, before I knew the truth about their hearts, I might have softened with maternal instinct. But now, my heart was harder than Siberian permafrost, frozen by years of accumulated hurt and disappointment. I looked down at them with the detachment of a judge and slowly spoke. "Forgive you. I can certainly do that." The 3 raised their heads sharply, hope instantly igniting in their eyes like matches struck in darkness. "As long as you agree to one simple condition." 100 conditions would be fine, Mom. Tell us what you need," Sarah said with desperate urgency. I looked directly at Angela and said word by word with perfect clarity. "Have your boyfriend Michael Chen come over immediately. I want to chat with him face to face." Angela was stunned into silence. Robert and Sarah were also confused and worried. They did not understand why I would want to see Michael when I already knew he was a fraud and manipulator. "What, do you not want to comply?" My voice turned cold as Arctic wind. "No, no, no. We are willing. I will have him come over right away." Angela snapped back to her senses like someone grasping the last straw of salvation, tremblingly typing a text message to Michael. She did not dare call him directly, afraid her crying voice would give away the desperate situation and ruin everything. Half an hour later, the doorbell rang with ordinary cheerfulness. Sarah rushed to open the door at top speed, nearly tripping in her haste. Standing at the door was a young man in designer clothes with slicked back hair and the confident smile of someone who thought he was in complete control. It was Michael Chen. Seeing Sarah open the door, he immediately put on an enthusiastic, charming smile that he had practiced to perfection. "Hello, Auntie. Where is Angela? I have been missing her terribly." He started to walk into the house with the confidence of someone who belonged there. When he saw the scene in the living room, his smile instantly froze like water turning to ice. Robert sat on the sofa with a dark, threatening expression. Angela knelt on the floor with her head down and clear handprint marks on her swollen face. And I sat in the main seat, looking at him with the cold assessment of a predator studying prey. Michael was not completely stupid. He immediately sensed something was very wrong with this picture. "Uncle, Auntie, what is going on here, Angela? Get up right now." He wanted to help Angela to her feet and restore some normalcy. "Do not touch her." I spoke with quiet authority. Michael's movement froze mid-reach. Only then did he turn his full attention to me. The old lady he had always completely ignored as irrelevant. "You are?" he asked with false politeness. "I am her grandmother." Michael was startled by my directness, then showed what he thought was a charming, winning smile. "Oh, Grandma. Hello, I am Michael Chen, Angela's boyfriend. I have heard Angela mention you many times. Finally meeting you today, you look so spirited and youthful." While speaking with practiced smoothness, he pulled out an exquisite box from his pocket with a flourish. "First meeting gift, nothing much, just a small token of my respect." I did not take the obvious bribe, just looked at him with steady assessment. "Michael Chen, right? I heard your family does international trade business?" Michael's eyes flickered with something that might have been nervousness, but he still nodded confidently. "Yes, small business mainly, importing German machinery and precision equipment." "Oh, really?" I smiled with genuine amusement. "I have an old friend who also does business in Germany named Klaus Schultz. Do you know him by any chance?" Klaus Schultz was a titan in German manufacturing and head of Moonlight Corporation's European division, someone whose name carried real weight in international business circles. Michael's face instantly paled to the color of ash. Of course, he did not know any Schultz or anyone else of importance. His father was just a low-level salesman at a tiny, struggling trading company. His designer clothes were all expensive knockoffs, and the Porsche he drove to impress people was rented by the day. He had managed to deceive Angela purely through smooth talk and rich second-generation performances he had learned from online tutorials and movies. I do not know him personally. Probably not in the same field of business, he stammered, his confidence evaporating like morning mist. "Really? What a pity," I said with mock disappointment. "I was hoping you could help me with a business matter. I have a batch of Siemens precision instruments I want to ship from Düsseldorf to America. I was worried about finding a reliable, experienced channel. Since your family does this type of work, I will leave this matter entirely to you. Can you handle it? Siemens? Precision instruments? Düsseldorf shipping channels?" Michael's mind went completely blank. Cold sweat beginning to drip down his forehead like he was melting. He did not even know what these things were, much less how to ship them internationally or handle the complex logistics involved. He finally realized with growing horror that he had kicked an iron plate. This seemingly ordinary old lady was not the kind of country person he could casually deceive with his usual tricks and borrowed sophistication. "Grandma, He fell to his knees with a heavy thud, his carefully constructed facade crumbling completely. "I was wrong. I lied to Angela about everything. My family does not have any company. I am just a poor nobody with nothing. Please spare me." Michael's kneeling was like pushing over the first domino in a carefully arranged line. Angela looked at this man who had been making grand promises to her just seconds ago, planning their beautiful future together, now kneeling on the ground like a beaten dog begging for mercy. The light in her eyes completely died as she realized the magnitude of her delusion. She had always thought she had caught a golden opportunity, found a shortcut to high society and the sophisticated life she craved. For this illusion, she had not hesitated to deceive her parents, and even planned to abandon them completely. In the end, she discovered it was all an elaborate lie constructed by a skilled con artist. She herself was the biggest fool in this entire pathetic story. "Liar, you filthy liar," she screamed, and pounced on Michael with all her remaining strength, scratching and hitting him with desperate fury. Michael did not fight back, just held his head protectively, continuously begging with the desperation of someone whose life was in danger. "I was wrong, Grandma. I was wrong. But it is not entirely my fault. It is Angela. She is the vain one. She said as long as I could give her a wealthy lifestyle, she would do anything for me, anything at all." "You are lying!" Angela shrieked with the voice of someone whose world had completely collapsed. "Am I lying?" Michael went completely desperate, shouting back with nothing left to lose. "Dare you say you never complained to me about your parents being useless and embarrassing? Dare you say you never found your grandmother poor and humiliating to be around?" The two began tearing at each other in front of everyone, revealing each other's most unseemly, disgusting sides with vicious honesty. Those cruel, dirty, absolutely disgusting words poured from their mouths, one after another like sewage from a broken pipe. Robert and Sarah's faces alternated between red and white with shame beyond measure. Their pride and joy of a daughter, their hope for the future and social advancement, was revealed to be nothing more than a cheap, foolish gold digger in the eyes of this worthless fraud. "Enough." My low shout made both combatants stop their pathetic display immediately. I looked at Michael kneeling on the ground in his completely wretched state and said coldly with final authority, "You get out of this house right now. From this moment forward, do not appear anywhere near our home again. Otherwise—" I did not finish the sentence, but the threat in my eyes made Michael shudder with genuine fear. As if granted amnesty from a death sentence, he scrambled up like a frightened animal and ran out the door without looking back even once, leaving behind only the echo of his expensive shoes on the marble floor. In the living room, only our family of 4 remained, and the complete, devastating mess they had made of their lives. Angela sat collapsed on the floor, crying soundlessly with the despair of someone who had lost everything. Robert and Sarah kept their heads down in shame, unable to speak or even look at each other. The atmosphere was so oppressive, it felt like the air itself was suffocating. After a long while, I slowly spoke with the calm of someone who had made their final decision. "Now, we can discuss your future situation." The 3 stiffened simultaneously. Looking up at me with terror written across their faces, I ignored their expressions of fear and calmly announced my decision with the authority of someone who had the power to change their lives completely. "First, from today forward, Robert Williams, you are fired from Hongfa Trading." "Mom," Robert cried out in shock, his face turned. I raised my hand to stop his protests before they could begin. "Do not beg me or try to change my mind. You have been sitting in that position doing absolutely nothing productive, riding on my connections to lord over others and take credit for work you did not do. You should have been removed from that position long ago. Second," my gaze turned to Sarah with cold precision, "those beauty salons under your name that you are so proud of, I am the real owner. Starting tomorrow morning, you do not need to go to work anymore. I will send people to take over complete management." Sarah's body swayed dangerously, nearly fainting from the shock. Those beauty salons were all her pride, her bragging rights in the competitive wives' social circle, the source of her identity and self-worth. Third, my gaze finally fell on Angela with the weight of final judgment. "Your bank cards and credit cards are all frozen as of this moment. That sports car under your name will be repossessed tomorrow morning." Angela suddenly looked up with eyes full of despair and complete confusion. Why, I already know I was wrong, I apologized. Why are you still treating me like this? Why, I asked with a laugh that held no warmth. Because you never really knew what wrong actually means. You lived in a house I bought, drove cars I purchased, enjoyed everything I provided for your comfort, yet treated me like disposable trash to be thrown away when convenient. You gnawed on my bones and drank my blood with complete peace of mind. While finding me, this old thing nothing but an eyesore blocking your path to what you wanted. Angela, when you called me stupid peasant in German, thinking I could not understand, did you think this day would ever come? Each of my words was like a knife, stabbing hard into their hearts with surgical precision. They could not refute anything because every single word I spoke was absolutely true. I gave you 20 years of wealthy, comfortable life without asking for anything in return. I thought I could raise 3 people who knew gratitude and basic human decency. Now I see I raised 3 ungrateful wolves who would devour me if given the chance. My voice was full of disappointment and bone-deep exhaustion. So I have decided to take back everything I ever gave you. Mom, do not do this. Sarah finally broke down completely, hugging my legs and crying with heartbroken desperation. We know we were wrong. Really, truly wrong. If you take everything back, how will we survive in this world? Robert also crawled to me on his knees, kowtowing like his life depended on it. Mom, please, for Dad's sake, spare us this once. I will be your servant. I will do anything you ask. Just please do not destroy us completely. Your father, hearing these 2 words, I felt nothing but deep irony. You still dare to remember your father. Your father told you on his deathbed to be filial to me and treat me with respect. Did you do that? Your father was honest and upright his entire life. Look at yourself now, doing anything to climb the social ladder and gain advantage. Are you worthy of his memory? Robert was speechless from my questions, shamefully lowering his head in complete defeat. I took a deep breath and stood up with dignity. I am giving you exactly 3 days to move out of this house. All 3 exclaimed simultaneously in shock and disbelief. This house is mine, I looked at them, saying clearly word by word so there could be no misunderstanding. I do not welcome you living here any longer. Mom, you cannot be so heartless. Where can we possibly go if we move out? Sarah wailed with theatrical despair. Go where you should go, I replied with finality. I stopped paying any attention to their crying and pleading, turning toward the door with my decision made. My old phone rang again with perfect timing. I answered the call calmly. Chairman. Charles's familiar voice came through clearly. Charles, send people to clean this house thoroughly. Also, prepare everything for me. I am going back to Germany. Yes, Chairman, tickets and itinerary are already arranged perfectly. Mr. Klaus is waiting for your arrival. I hung up and opened the front door with a sense of liberation I had not felt in decades. Outside stood a row of men in black suits wearing white gloves, looking like they belonged in a movie about powerful people. Leading them was Charles, my old friend and loyal subordinate. He looked much older than I remembered, his hair completely gray. But his back was still straight with the bearing of someone accustomed to authority. Seeing me, he bowed deeply with genuine respect and emotion. Chairman, welcome home. I nodded with satisfaction and stepped out into my new life. Behind me came the heartbroken cries of Robert, Sarah, and Angela. But I did not look back even once. Some paths once taken in the wrong direction can never be retraced. Some bridges, once burned, can never be rebuilt. And some trust, once shattered, leaves scars that last forever. When I set foot on German soil again, it was 2 days later, Berlin, Tegel Airport, where carried the familiar scent of fir trees and beer mixed together, bringing back memories of a life I had left behind decades ago. Klaus, he was my former junior colleague from university, now head of Moonlight's European division. He was already a distinguished white-haired German gentleman, but seeing me, He was still excited like a child, giving me a warm, emotional hug. "Luna, my God, you are finally back." His German carried a heavy Bavarian accent that made me smile despite everything. "Klaus, it has been far too long." I patted his back, also moved by this reunion with someone who had remained loyal through all the years. We got into an unremarkable black Mercedes, driving through familiar streets that held so many memories. The Berlin Wall had long since disappeared, replaced by bustling commercial districts and hurrying crowds living their daily lives. Everything had changed dramatically, yet somehow seemed exactly the same as I remembered. "Have you really decided to take control of Moonlight again?" Klaus asked with worry evident in his voice as we drove through the city. "Not take control," I replied, gazing at the rapidly changing streetscape outside the window. "Just coming back to look around and deal with some old debts that need settling." Klaus sighed deeply with understanding. "I knew your son could not be relied upon. I told you long ago that people's hearts change, especially when money and comfort are involved." "It is not entirely his fault," I shook my head sadly. "I spoiled him myself through my own choices. If not for my 40 years of unconditional indulgence and secret financial support, Robert might not have become the person he was today. I had personally built him a false castle in the air, making him think he was born to have everything handed to him without effort or gratitude." That evening, Klaus held a welcome dinner for me at a private club near Charlottenburg Palace. All the core executives of Moonlight Corporation came to pay their respects. These figures who dominated European business circles all respectfully called me chairman when they saw me, showing the deference due to someone of real power. Some of them were people I had personally promoted and mentored years ago. Looking at these familiar yet somehow strange faces, I felt somewhat disconnected from reality. For 40 years, I had lived the most ordinary life possible, taking buses, going to markets, haggling with vendors over a few cents to save money. I had almost completely forgotten that I was once someone at the very top of the pyramid, someone whose decisions affected thousands of lives and billions of dollars. "Chairman, these are the group's financial reports and global business development plans for the past 10 years. Please review them at your convenience." An elegant blonde woman handed me a thick file with both hands. I took it but did not open it immediately. "No need for that right now." I looked around at everyone and slowly spoke with quiet authority. "I did not come back to audit accounts or micromanage operations. I just want to tell you all one important thing." Everyone held their breath. "All financial support, all properties, vehicles, and shares held in their names are to be reclaimed immediately. All business dealings with companies related to them are terminated effective immediately." My voice was not loud, but in the quiet club, it carried like thunder across still water. Everyone looked at each other with understanding, but no one objected or questioned my decision. The chairman's family affairs were not their business to question. They just needed to execute orders efficiently and completely. Also, I paused, looking directly at Klaus with the expression of someone settling old scores. "Help me investigate someone thoroughly. Michael Chen, the fraud who deceived my granddaughter. I want to know everything about him, including his family background, social connections, and all his dirty secrets." Klaus's eyes flashed with cold understanding. "Understood completely. Within 3 days at most, I will strip him completely bare for you to see." After handling these necessary matters, I left the club feeling lighter than I had in years. I did not go to the 5-star hotel Klaus had thoughtfully arranged for me, but had him drive me to an old apartment building near the Free University of Berlin. This was where my husband David and I had lived together during our happiest years. Over 40 years later, everything here remained almost exactly unchanged, like a shrine to our love. The bakery downstairs still wafted those same tempting aromas that used to draw us in as young students. I opened the door with a key I had kept all these years. The room was spotless because Klaus had always sent people to clean it regularly, maintaining it like a museum of my former life. On the wall still hung my and David's wedding photo, faded but precious. In the picture, we smiled so young, so happy, so full of hope for the future we would build together. I walked to the old wooden desk and opened a drawer that held memories. Inside lay a doctoral dissertation, yellowed with age but still clearly legible. The German title on the cover was still perfectly clear: On Capital Alienation and Return to Humanity in the Context of Globalization, author. In America, I had been Mother Williams, Grandma Angela, an old lady with no name, no past, only identity labels that others had given me for their convenience. But I had forgotten the most important thing. Before becoming their relative, I was first and always Luna Winters. I was an independent person with my own thoughts, dignity, and dreams. I was not anyone's appendage, much less trash to be discarded when I became inconvenient. The next day, I put on a sharp, perfectly tailored business suit and, accompanied by Klaus, came to Moonlight Corporation's impressive German headquarters. This was a gleaming skyscraper standing proudly in Potsdamer Platz, a monument to the empire I had built from nothing. When I appeared at the group's executive meeting as chairman, everyone was genuinely shocked into silence. They only knew there was a mysterious English founder behind the group, but had never seen my true face or known my real identity. I made no lengthy self-introduction, just used fluent, authoritative German to propose several strategic adjustments for the group's future development. From investments in renewable energy to artificial intelligence industry layouts, to support plans for traditional handicrafts that preserved cultural heritage. Every word I spoke precisely hit the pulse of the current global economy with the insight that comes from decades of experience. Those usually arrogant business elites went from initial shock to doubt to complete, respectful conviction in less than an hour. When the meeting ended, thunderous applause filled the room like a standing ovation. I stood before the huge floor-to-ceiling windows, overlooking all of Berlin spread out below me like a kingdom. But I was thinking about what the family I had thrown out of the mansion was doing at this very moment. Would they regret their treatment of me? Would they finally recognize their mistakes and change their ways? I did not know the answers to these questions. I only knew with absolute certainty that the game had just begun, and I intended to win. That is the end of our story for today. We hope you enjoyed this journey of love and vengeance. We'd love to hear your thoughts and reflections in the comments below. Your insights and perspectives are what make our community truly special. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel to stay updated on the next captivating tale from Love Vengeance. Each like and share helps us continue to bring you stories that resonate. Thank you for spending your time with us. Until next time, take care and keep those stories close to your heart.